introduction for my full season of MLBPA by Electronic Arts. Okay, now we've seen me do the first video on this, which was just a one game option. You can do league playoffs, a series. We're going to do full season. And I already got the schedule figured out. So, those of you who have watched my other video, full seasons, I'm trying to find the remote here so I can turn the volume down. So if you see my other full seasons, so far I've done Tecmo Super Bowl on the NES, full season. I did Tecmo Super Bowl on the Super NES, Tecmo Super Bowl 2 Special Edition on the Super NES. I also did NHL 99 on the Sony PlayStation full seasons. And what I do in my full seasons is I pick one team, which is my favorite team. Like in football, I pick the Green Bay Packers. Hockey, I pick the Chicago Blackhawks. In this baseball game, I'll be the Chicago White Sox. So, we're going to be seeing me as the White Sox playing against the computer. All the other teams are computer controlled. And we'll see multiple White Sox games. Actually, I think that we'll see 11 of them, 11 White Sox games. All the other teams, we will see them play one game during the regular season. So 11 of those teams will be played against me. The other teams will be played computer versus computer. And we'll sit there and look at the teams. You gotta remember this game is from 1995, so the teams might be a little different. And back then, go to the league standings and just show that what the divisions looked like back then. You got in the American League East, the Baltimore Orioles, the Boston Red Sox, Cleveland Indians, Detroit Tigers, Milwaukee Brewers, New York Yankees, and the Toronto Blue Jays. In the West, you have the Anaheim Angels, Chicago White Sox, Kansas City Royals. See, now, it says Minneapolis. That's supposed to be the Minnesota Twins, but I don't think this game was able to get permission to use the Major League Baseball teams' names, so they just used their cities. So that's why we see Minneapolis is actually the Minnesota Twins. You got the Oakland A's, Seattle Mariners, and Arlington is the Texas Rangers. And now that I look at it, it's kind of weird that they're all in alphabetical order, except for Arlington's at the bottom, because maybe they were going to make them Texas Rangers. Maybe they're just going to say Texas instead. That's why. You see Anaheim, the Anaheim Angels back then were called the California Angels, so they still would have been right there. In the East, we have the Chicago Cubs. This is the National League, by the way. We got the Miami is actually the Florida Marlins. We got the Montreal. I can't even remember Montreal's name in baseball. Oh, the Montreal Expos. So I'm trying to look in my. Yeah, I actually got them right. I played hockey so much I usually get the teams mixed up. You might hear that every now and then in my sports. I might say like the wrong sport, like the wrong team. So anyways, we got the Montreal Expos, New York Mets, Philadelphia Phillies, Pittsburgh Pirates, and the St. Louis Cardinals. In the West, we have the Atlanta Braves, Cincinnati Reds. The Denver is actually the Colorado Rockies. Got the Houston Astros, Los Angeles Dodgers, San Diego Padres, and the San Francisco Giants. So yeah, actually those teams see Miami, even though they're Florida. Either way, they'd still be between the Chicago and Montreal, being in alphabetical order. Same thing with Denver. If they were Colorado, they'd still be in the same spot. That's weird. Anaheim. So you got three teams that has city names. Minneapolis too, but Minnesota and Minneapolis are pretty close spelled, the first three letters. Actually, the first 5 letters. So So that's weird that out of the 6 teams in this game that have the city for a name, whereas in the real Major League Baseball didn't use that. Like Anaheim, California, Minnesota was called, or Minneapolis was called Minnesota, Arlington was called Texas. But anyways, it's weird that 5 out of 6 of them are still in the exact same spot alphabetically that they would be had they used the original names. But okay, now that we got all that taken care of, go ahead and show you the schedule that's coming up. First game of the season. It's going to be April 9th. And it's going to be New York Yankees and the Chicago White Sox. And then April 12th. See, now all these other games in between are going to be skipped. Or simulated, whatever you want to call it. So April 12th, we're going to see me play against the Minnesota Twins. And then the 17th of April, got the Rockies and the Expos, whoops, right here. On the 19th, 2 days later, we've got me playing against Boston. And I did do it. I wrote all the teams down in my notebook here so I could get the schedule, and I wrote down the Boston Bruins instead of the Red Sox. So anyways, and those are all the games we're going to see in April, so that's 4 games. In May we're only going to see 3 games. May 5th will be our first game, and we will see the New York Mets. Right there, New York Mets against Los Angeles. See, it says New York N. That means New York National League. The Yankees are New York A for American League. Same thing with Chicago. The Cubs are Chicago N. The White Sox are Chicago A. That's what that's for. So we're going to see the New York Mets and LA Dodgers on the 5th. Next game is going to be on the 16th. And we will see Chicago White Sox and Texas Rangers. Next game will be on the 26th. Kansas City Royals at Chicago White Sox. In June, we're going to see 3 games. First game is going to be June 8th. Detroit Tigers at Chicago. 2 days later, June 10th, we've got Pittsburgh Pirates and the Florida Marlins, as you see, Pittsburgh and Miami. And on June 30th, all the way down to the bottom of the month, got the Chicago Cubs at the San Diego Padres. July, we've got 4 games. Yeah, it was kind of hard writing the schedule. I kind of did like just randomly drawing the teams, and then I had to go find out what day they played, so it wasn't easy. July 8th, we're going to see the Chicago White Sox and the Baltimore Orioles. By the way, back then they didn't have interleague play, so that's why we're going to see all National League versus National League and all American League teams versus American League. The only time we'll see American League versus National League is in the World Series. So next game after that, we skip down 1 week later to the 15th. And well, you get your All-Star break in here. So it jumps from the 11th to the 15th. So apparently there's an All-Star game played on the 13th, but we don't get to see it. I guess they didn't have the ability to put that in the game. So anyways, on the 15th, Chicago White Sox at Milwaukee Brewers. 3 days later, we've got, whoops, Okay, that was a screw up. I've got, it's supposed to be Oakland at Anaheim. Yeah, for July 18th, that must be September 18th maybe? I don't know, I'm going to have to go back and find that. Anyways, we're going to be seeing Oakland play Anaheim sometime this season. I'll have to find the date and I'll mention it in the first game. Maybe I'll actually check the other months. I might have wrote it down wrong. Possibly might have been July 8th too. No. Could have been June. Let's see, June 18th maybe? No. We'll find it after I go through the rest of the teams. The rest of the schedule. So July 18th I failed. We're not going to see a game that day. The next day we're going to see Toronto at Chicago, White Sox. And then we jump down. We're not going to see any games in August. I just couldn't find any matches, so we're going to jump all the way down. Actually, let's... Okay, I just wanted to check the 18th of that month. Okay, so September... First game, September 18th. And that game's going to be all the way down at the bottom here. San Francisco Giants at Cincinnati Reds. So I'm glad I'm doing this intro so I can actually see any mistakes I might have made. And then we're going to see the next game on September 27th. Seattle Mariners at Chicago White Sox. 2 days later, September 29th. Got the Houston Astros at Atlanta Braves. And then on October 2nd, at the Philadelphia Phillies at the St. Louis Cardinals. October 3rd, our last game of the regular season, Chicago White Sox at Cleveland Indians. And the very next day, April 5th, is where we got the playoffs. But see, now, we're not going to see a 7-game series, the best of 7. What I'm going to do is I'm going to skip, like, it says game 1. I'm going to go game 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I'm going to select those 2 games, so that way it'll automatically simulate the first 6 games, and they'll be even. So it'll be a 1-game elimination when we see the playoffs, and we're going to do the same thing for the World Series. So now I suppose I can go back and look for that game where it's Oakland against Anaheim. I've got July 18th written down. I don't understand why. Check the 18th of the other months. Okay, that's not it. That's not it. See here you got Oakland at New York Yankees, which was supposed to be Oakland at Anaheim. There's Anaheim at Oakland. Check my 18th. That's not it. April 18th. That's not it. Maybe we'll check the 8th of each month. Oh well, if I can't find it. There it is, May 8th, Oakland at Anaheim. So, we're going to have to change, I don't know why. I have July 17th down. But that's going to be changed to May 8th. So I'm just going to have to remember select the game. So anyways, that's how Major League Baseball is going to be played. hope you enjoyed the intro. By the way, as for the league standings, we're going to see that at the end of every month. So, like at the end of April here, our first game is going to be April 5th. Oh, there's your password, by the way. Forgot to mention that, which I'll be getting into in a minute. But anyway, so at the end of April, and we get down to like April 30th. Actually, I'll probably do like the first game of the month. So in May, our first game is May 5th. So I'm in May 5th doing New York Mets and LA Dodgers. That's probably when I'll go ahead and show the league standings at that point. And our first game in June, first game in July, first game in August. And we'll go ahead and check the last two games in October because it's going to be a pretty close race at that point. That's when you get teams competing for division championships, and there are no wild cards back then. For only 4 divisions and 4 division champions. Whoever wins their division out of these 4 divisions goes to the playoffs. So not quite as long as hockey or football. We're going to see 2 playoff games and 1 World Series game, and that's all for postseason, 3 games. Whereas in hockey we see like 11 games, I think. No more than that, it'd be like 15 games. And football, I think, is 11 games. So, anyway, that's our Major League Baseball Players Association introduction to the full season. Hope you enjoyed it. And oh yeah, password. The most annoying thing about these games by Electronic Arts made back in 1994, 95, around that time, is they had a password system. Now, it's pretty simple. At the beginning of the season, no games are played, so BBB is your password. But now, as we get into playing a few games, the password's going to start getting a little longer. And it's going to go from 3 digits now to about something like maybe 40 digits by the end of the season. So that is really tedious and annoying as we get towards the end of the season. So I'm going to try playing multiple games like in one day, so I don't have to keep doing the password over and over, because every time you shut it off you have to enter the password when you turn it back on. So that's going to be quite the nuisance. And I think that's about all. As I was saying, they don't have the team names. We do have all the player names, and I'll be rotating my roster too in my games. I don't like using the exact same players every single game, so I like to rotate some of them. I'll keep some of my main players in, but unfortunately, I don't think I can really... I guess I could show the roster here by doing this. I'll go back. Go to one game. You can actually, if you play like the same 2 teams, Chicago against Chicago, the White Sox against the White Sox. Okay, so here's my roster. Normally I have... Well, if you watch my preseason game, you'll see that this is the way you usually have Raines, Johnson, Tour, Thomas. I have Jackson, Ellis Burks. Okay, Tim Raines, Lance Johnson, Robin Ventura, Frank Thomas, Bo Jackson, Ellis Burks, Ron Karkovic, Joey Cora, Ozzie Guillen. Every once in a while, I'll put Craig Graybeck in for Guillen. Sometimes we see George Bell playing for Bo Jackson. Steve Sachs. I don't know why they had him marked left field here. He played second base, so sometimes we'll see him playing second base for Joey Cora, sometimes maybe third base for Robin Ventura. Ivan Calderon, might see him play for Ellis Burks once in a while. Actually, Ellis Burks isn't the one I have in, it's usually Danny Pasqua, so. Calderon, we might see play for Pasqua, sometimes we might see Burks playing for Pasqua. Mike LaValliere, catcher, is probably one of the worst players on my team. We might see him catch one game of the whole season if we're lucky. Now the pitchers have an automatic pitching rotation, so I'll just leave the starting pitchers, rotate by however they want to do it. As far as relief pitchers, I'll just go with whoever I want to. Usually if a right-hander starts, when I take that right-hander out to bring in the left-hander, which is Scott Radinsky, there's a left-handed starter. I think our only left-handed starter is maybe Tim Belcher. So anyways, Hernandez, DeLeon, Schwartz, and McCaskill are all right-handed pitchers. So anyways, hope you enjoyed the intro, and I'll see you in the next video.